Good morning. Today is the 13th of June 2024 and I'm going to go through my trade plan and ideas for today. But before we start, let's just look at the news and what could be moving the market today. 8:30 we had PPI come in and we had jobless claims and we saw a little bit of a reaction. Market pushed up and rejected yesterday's all-time highs. We've got a little bit of news later. Fed speaking, we've got some natural gas and mortgage rates, but we've got a Fed speaking at 12 and we've got the 30-year bond auction at 1, so be wary if you're in a trade at that time. Okay, so levels for today, a little bit more interesting we had yesterday. Yesterday was we were up here and there was no real levels really. FOMC came along, didn't really do a great deal. We kind of finished the day where we started the day. Let's just get my pen open. And I have taken a trade already, so that was a scalp from the top and I got out just before VWAP, I think it was. Decent scalp, and it was only for a quarter of my normal risk, so just very low risk because it wasn't really my plan. But while I was doing my levels I realised that was the area I was watching anyway. So let's go to yellow. Okay, so my first level is the level I've already shorted today, and that's around that area. And let's just make that a bit smaller. So I'm watching 55.20 for the rejection. We've got a nice top here, all-time highs. FOMC candle came in. Well, we tanked down, came back up, and then we kind of went sideways for a bit. And then today we came back into it on the news, PPI news, and we've rejected it. So that's a good area to watch for a rejection. We'll probably have more volume at that time as well because it'll be in main market hours. Let's note the volume shelf we've got along here is exactly where the price is right now, that area. So we can either go into bounce and continue our trade up, or we may see it reject down, which takes me to my next level. So 54.90, 50, it's an area I'm watching for a potential bounce. Bounced yesterday in that area and we bounced in the pre-market, and if we get back down to that area I'm going to watch initially for the bounce, but if we can't hold it I'll be looking for a break and retest short. So 54.90, break and retest short. Then we've got yesterday's low area around 54.80. Could be a bounce area again, but I'll be watching that area again for two trades, either a bounce or if I'm in short for profit, take some profit, or I'm looking for a break and retest short into this area down here where we've got an area of confidence, and that's 54.40 down to 54.30, this area here. Could also keep an eye on this trend line, so let's zoom out a bit. So this trend line goes back to when we had the lows back in May, and today I just linked it to the lows on Tuesday, and we've got this trend line we can watch for a potential bounce. So if we do sell off, that's the reason I like this area here. So I've got a level here which is tops of pivots here, and we've got a big volume shelf there as well. So potentially we can watch this area for a bounce, and that's probably one of my better watches today. So I'm watching 54.34 to 54.30, 54.40 for a bounce, and we've got the trend line. One more thing to note as well, we've got the upward trailing 200 moving average, this purple line, so we could come in and meet it there. But let's keep an eye, we're still above the 50, but let's just go into the daily, see where we are. Bit of an inside day at the moment. Volume, increased volume over the last couple of days. 1, 2, 3, but we have had wane in volume. We can see on this we've had decline in volume initially, decline in volume down there, and then increase in volume, and then increase in volume. Where did that start? In fact, we had decline in volume on the pullback actually, and we had increase in volume in the sell-off. Sorry, my mistake. That area there. So potentially we could be seeing a bit of market exhaustion. We are pretty extended. We're quite far away from the 20, quite far away from the 50, and we're quite far away from the 200 moving average. And going back to the hourly, As you can see, we kind of held the 20 in the pre-market, but we are far away from the 50, so we can potentially watch yesterday's low, and the 50 should be up in that area by the time we get down to it for potential bounce. That's why I like that area. Okay, so let's move on to SPY. Same scenario. We've got this area at the top, pre-market high, yesterday low. We can watch that area for a rejection. It's against the trend, same as ES, it's against the trend, so be very careful with rejecting. One thing we can look for is obviously a break and retest long, but as I just explained, we're quite very extended, so I think it's going to be interesting. I'm not quite sure which way it could go today. And then the only area we can watch is the pre-market low, yesterday's low for a bounce, but I still quite like the area we discussed yesterday, 536 for a bounce as well, coming into volume, and we've got a better bounce area down here as well at 532, 534. So this is the area I'll be looking for a bounce. We've got this area marked up on this trend line, the blue line is the yellow line underneath there, picks up on pivots, and we've got the 200 coming into that area, so this entire area we can watch for a bounce. Okay, so SPX, we've got this big gap, potentially we can watch for a gap fill and a bounce at yesterday's low. Let's mark it off. So this area here for a potential gap fill, and that's at 53.74.15. But ideally, I still quite like 5300 bounce, this area here. In fact, let's mark it off as a box. So I quite like this area for a bounce, and it's an area of confluence as well. Tops and candles there, some top bottoms of candles, bottoms of these candles up here, and we've got this point of control running right through it as well. So good area to watch, 5300 bounce. NQ, we're really extended from the 20, from the 50, and from the 200. Before I go on with that, just be a bit wary because we had the rollovers today, and on trading view, just thought I mentioned that because my charts didn't look good. If your chart looks a bit like that, so let's go back to the ES, and you see the big gap up, then don't panic. It wasn't a gap up overnight, it was the rollovers of the contracts, and there's a quick fix for that. Either just leave it as it is and on Monday it will be back to normal, or down here you've got the B adjust, so adjust for the contract change. Click that and you'll see similar to what you'll be seeing on if you trade NinjaTrader or another platform. It just adjusts, and then on Monday you may need to click it again to readjust it back to the normal charts. I leave it on all the time, so I trade off of that. So just be a bit wary of that. So NQ, only because this morning I woke up, and as you do, you check the charts, and that would have been about 2 AM Eastern time. I was thinking, what the bloody hell was this gap up? You know, I went short on NQ last night as well, short on QQQs, and first thing I realised, I was like gutted because that's a big gap up, and then I realised the contracts had changed. But anyway, so NQ, let's just zoom out a bit. We are pretty extended again on the NQ, so we can keep an eye for a bounce around this area. We've got this little bit of a volume shelf, and I quite like this area for a bounce, 19,300, 19,400. So let's watch this. If we come sell off down, it's a big move down if we do get down there, and hopefully we do, because then my swing trade will be great. So that's more hope and wishing. If not, then keep an eye on that for next week or maybe tomorrow. But the next bounce area, it's hard to find any bounce areas here. There's just nothing. It's a hard one. I think maybe hold off on NQ until we do get down into this region, this area here, or this area here. You could layer fibs. Do a couple. So from the lows to the highs. Let's change that to the normal 618. So we've got the 50% down here. So nothing. So that can also act as support. Look at the 50%. Happen to be right on that area of confluence tops of candles, bottoms of candles. That's why I quite like that area. So let's do another fibs, but this time let's just do the lows from there to there. So we've got a 50% area here, and then let's do another fibs. And again, I don't normally trade fibs, but we've got no levels, so let's just see whether we can generate some. Okay, so we've got a few areas of interest. So we could potentially watch this area here, 19,600 for a bounce, and that's off the 50% fibs, looking at the two pivots. So let's just go. So the pivots I used was here, and I used that one, those two lows, and obviously that's my other fibs low as well. And so we can watch this, potentially we can watch this area here for a bounce, and if we do break down, we've got the 618 just below. So 19,500 happens to be that little area consolidation. Look at that, almost perfect. And we've got this volume shelf in that area as well, just a little bit below. Let's just remove some of these. Or we can watch the 15, 19,600, 19,500, both of those were bounces. And that's the only places I can see, really. Maybe look for a change of trend. Up the top, we're kind of seeing that now, and look for a rejection down, but that'll be a higher risk because it is against the trend. Okay, let's look at NQ next. Sorry, QQQ's next. Again, I'll just draw the fibs in to see if we can find something. So 50% is right on that the 50 moving average there. So we can watch for a potential bounce at that point, but preferably the best bounce point will be around this area here, 460.50, because we've got bottoms of candles there, area confluence, tops of candles here, and got a bit of volume coming in below as well. So that's the area really I really watch for a bounce. But if we see a change of trend and we happen to be down at the 50% area, 618 area, then we can watch that area also. Okay, next is crude oil. On this decent hourly uptrend, let's draw the levels in. So we could potentially, I know we broke through down here, we touched it again. So that seems to be holding this hourly trend line. And what we've done is we've broken down, and we've had a bit of a bull flag, and we've broken out of it. So you could potentially watch for the retest of yesterday's low off the trend line. Probably that's the best trade at the moment. What's the volume look like on the daily? So even though we had a bit of a flag pattern up here, volume's about average. Go back to the hourly again. You could also see a potential head and shoulders pattern up, setting up left shoulder, head. Could this be the right shoulder? And our neckline, hard to draw the neckline. Neckline could be around here, that area there. You could argue and say the neckline is there as well, because you could say that's a shoulder, head, another shoulder. We'll keep an eye on that. I think the only place we can watch is for a rejection up over in this area, 80.50 to 80.90. That's our rejection area, and that's a previous pivot and an area of confluence. Let's just zoom out a bit so you can see where we're getting it from. So look at that, brilliant, nice area. All these bottoms are pivots, and tops are pivots, and then we came in, we rejected it. We've yet to retest that area, so I do like that area for rejection. Bounce wise, you could watch the trend line, this area here. We've got the point of control just a bit below there. Otherwise, if we don't hold that, we've got off the 200 moving average and that area there, which is tops of pivots and bottoms of these pivots here. So I quite like that area. And that area is, sorry, 76.11. Gold. Let's see, zoom out a bit of volume come in yesterday. So we've broken that trend. So this is a trend we was watching, and then we pushed up, put a double top in, came back down, broke the trend, we came back and we retesting that trend. So potentially look for the rejection, which was probably happening already now. That's our rejection point. We had these lines in place, we were watching these pivots, so we had two areas to watch. And we come back into retest it. It's pre-market, big volume as well on that wide range. The only trade I can see is if we break over yesterday's high, we can look for the retest long, but we do have the point of control here as well, and that's a big long, and that's this area here is our area to watch, which is the point of control. So we're going into potential resistance, and you can see we rejected it yesterday. Potentially we could watch yesterday's high for rejection using the point of control as a stop. How do I raise? There you go. So we could watch this area here for potential rejection area. That's where the point of control is. And we do have a level just above as well, 23.76. That could be our level to watch for the rejection as well. Maybe a poke through, top and tail candle like that, and then the rejection back down. RTY, which is the Russell 2000. Big green day yesterday, or big green move. Gave it all back in the normal regular hours. We've broken the trend. So we've broken this trend, pushed up and rejected. So where's that rejection point? Yeah, nothing really reason why it rejected in that area. But we are on the outside of this trend line now. We've been watching this channel and this trend for the last few weeks. We're in the top end looking bullish, broke through looking bullish again, bearish, double bottom. Then we only stayed in this top half of the channel, a couple of just breakdowns, and then we broke out and we come back down and we're testing that area as well. So potentially, let's just clear that. Let's just move this line. So I'm moving that line to match a couple more pivots. Not close yet, but potentially we can watch for the bounce off of this area here, and that is 2038, 2040. Also happens to be the trend line bounce, and it's an area of confidence. Bottoms of candles, tops of these candles. Not really bottoms and tops kind of, but a bit of consolidation. So I quite like 2038 for the bounce, and then for the rejection we can watch up here again, 2100 to 2094 for the rejection. YM, this is the Dow Jones. See, this is looking weaker. I like this chart in a moment. What I'm seeing is, let's just get my arrow, looking at like a head here, right shoulder, potential left shoulder here or here, neckline around that area, and we broke it but instantly held it again, put in that. But what I'm watching for now is the break and retest of the pre-market low to continue the trend down. So pre-market low is currently 39,000. Look at that, a psychological number as well. So let's just put a marker there, and let's watch that area for break and retest short. I'll get rid of that one, and then we've got a target then bottom of these pivots here. So let's just redraw it there. 3904 for a 38,904. So we've got 100 point move down to 38,900 for potential target if we go short of the pre-market low. And that's it. If we were looking for a long, it's got to get over these pivots, yesterday's high. So breaking retest off, not just yesterday's high, yesterday's regular hours high, but the actual high, that area there. Let's mark it up. Watch that area. 39,500 for the break to 5,600 for the break and retest long. That's the only areas we can watch. And now Bitcoin, how did that do yesterday? Actually, now I like the daily for this. Okay, so couldn't hold up here, 71,000. Yesterday we had a good try and gave it back up, so we're now sitting in between. So this is the control bar for the last few days. So we tried to poke through, but we couldn't. And again, that's today, so we sold off and then gave a bit back again. So the key area is this line I drew area confluence. If we break these pivots and we get through that 50, we can watch for a break and retest low, and then we can watch the next level down. And that's it really. And obviously we've got our area up here, so let's just draw the line in. I know the red line. So these red lines are areas where I sold Bitcoin I had. So I keep them there just so I don't get FOMO knowing that it's going to keep running and I sold too early, but it looks like I sold at great places. I think we can still watch 60,000 for a bounce, that region, and if we lose 60,000, then we've got nothing until we get down to 50,000 and 40,000. Okay, that's it. Let's just look at ES before and see how the market's moved, and then we'll do a quick review of the order flow, see if there's anything setting up before the market opens in 6 minutes time. So let's go down to the hourly. Let's look at the 5 for a minute. My out was good by the looks of it. I took a short just up here, I did today, and I got out as we came into that second candle there, about there, 8:40, I think it was around about that time. No, it might have been that candle there, I can't remember exactly. It was a quarter of my normal size, it was probably less than a quarter, so it's a very small risk, and my stop was going to be all-time highs. But I saw it setting up and I just took it. It kind of was a level I'm watching. So let's just recap the levels for today. I'm watching for potential rejection, 55.18 to 55.20. So that's pre-market high and yesterday's high, that area. If we see strength and we break through, we can watch for a potential break and retest, but only with confirmation. So we need to see the trend change, because we could have a poke through and rejection just like we had here. So if you're watching for the breakout and look at that reaction after the breakout, you don't want to be involved in that, so be wary of. So if we see it come up, I want to see it come back down, hold that area with no more follow through but down. I want to see reducing volume down here as well, and then I'll be looking for the breaker trend and for the breakout. Otherwise, if it keeps going down, then again, I don't want to be stuck in a trade when we have that reaction, the big red reaction we saw there. Okay, bounce wise, watching 54.90, 5,500 is a psychological number. We could watch that as a higher risk bounce, and that will be on the 50 and the 200 area. I'm going to mark it anyway, but because there's not much for it going left, there's nothing there. I don't think we ever got anywhere close to it, no. So there's no levels. That's why I don't like all-time highs, because there's no levels for bounces. My best bounce area is off this trend line down at 54.40 to 54.50 potentially, that area. And then we've got this zone down here to watch as well. Let's just put a level in, and that's around that pivot area of demand. Let's just go left a bit, see if we've got anything. Okay, yeah, so that level I just put in as the tops of those pivots, so that's not a bad area as well. So we can watch that area for a bounce. And let's add that 5,400 for a bounce. I'll add that into my list as well. 5,400 bounce. And then what I always do is I put it in my trades viz, and I just put my pre-market game plan in, my notes, and then later on I'll just make some notes on my day. TradeViz is awesome software, really, really good, and if you haven't got it, I recommend getting it. And there is a discount code actually in the description below So I think you get, I can't remember, I think it's 30% off, which is decent. Let's quickly look at order flow and then market open.